Welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Man, I feel like we have been blessed this week, Shane, with 4 episodes featuring the Tennessee homer.
Oh, man.
How are you even doing this at this point in time?
Jeez, I don't know who made this wish, what genie bottle they stumbled across, but, man, I tell you what, I told you, once this thing got going, I'm so damn excited about college football. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to will the offseason away, if that makes sense. And you do that by doing these daily pods talking about individual teams and high expectations coming into a football season. That's what we're all here for, and I'm all for that. And I guess the longer it goes, the more excited I get about college football. And like even my wife, she's like, honey, it's July. What are you doing so many podcasts for? And I'm like, well, I mean, media days is right around the corner, so we got to get ready for this, you know. So I'm pumped, I'm excited, and just the fan interaction online, Mike. I tell you what, it's just been awesome. We're not the only ones ready for some college football, brother.
Yeah, no doubt. And we teased it on the last episode. If you missed it, go back and check out Texas A&M. We've done Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky, South Carolina, Auburn, Florida. But we did kind of tease on the last one. LSU's going to get their day, and their day has arrived, Shane, because it's the start of the Brian Kelly era. And I know they got loads of talent down there in Baton Rouge, Shane, but I got no idea what to expect from this team heading into the season. How about you?
Well, yeah, no, I'm in the exact same boat, Mike, and I don't know. Let me ask you on this, because is there an advantage to having that much talent and not really? I mean, you could pull Notre Dame tapes and shit like that and kind of get a feel of what Brian Kelly's offense is going to look like. But, you know, this is a new program. This is a new team. Do you think there's an advantage to basically not having to show your cards just yet?
Oh, absolutely. And particularly right out the gate, facing a Florida State team in New Orleans. We'll get to the schedule breakdown, but so there is positives to it. I mean, Florida State's going to have absolutely no tape to go off of what this LSU team has got in store for them. And I think, maybe you would want like a McNeese State or North Texas U or whatever to come into town and take a whipping to get into shape for a Florida State. But at the same time, I just think it's so valuable for them to have basically no idea what you're going to do. And I think that's going to serve the Tigers well right out the gate.
And I think that's what LSU fans want. I'm kind of envious starting off, with the Florida State team. There's going to be a lot of hype, a lot of noise coming down there in New Orleans. I think this is exactly what they want. It's a new regime. It's a new chapter. And you do that playing a reputable opponent. And if you could come out and beat the brakes off the Seminoles, then you're like, okay, BK's the real deal,
Yeah, no doubt. And, I mean, his resume is the real deal. 166 and 62 as a Division I football coach. Prior to his move into Division I, he was, I believe it was Division II. Grand Valley State won multiple national championships, Shane. And we know LSU as this storied program that the last 3 coaches, of course, have won national championships. And they used to have Nick Saban, we all know. But they have never hired a guy, Shane, with a resume as impressive as Brian Kelly with his multiple college football playoff appearances and a BCS national title game appearance at Notre Dame. If he's able to do that with a bunch of Rudies up there, just imagine what he's going to be doing with these 5- and 4-star talent in Baton Rouge.
Absolutely, man. It's just the next chapter. Protect the borders. Once they can do that and start recruiting in-state again, I tell you what, man, the sky's the limit for this program. There's a reason that there's multiple coaches in our lifetime winning national championships down there in LSU, Mike. It's because it is a blue chip program. It is a monster, and it just needs the right man at the helm, and I think they got one.
Yeah, and I think he surrounded himself with an outstanding coaching staff as well, Shane. 9 new faces, almost an entirely new staff. They have kept the offensive line coach Brad Davis, who served as the interim head coach in the bowl game, but they landed Matt House, the defensive coordinator, who previously with the Kansas City Chiefs, and before that he was Kentucky's defensive coordinator the first time Kentucky won 10 games, and that was led by that defense. So when we did my coordinator rankings, Matt House was, I believe I had him number 2 in the SEC. I think this is going to be an outstanding hire for LSU. At offensive coordinator, you got Mike Denbrock, who was Cincinnati's coordinator last year, went to the college football playoff, of course.
They did all right, didn't they?
They did all right, Shane. And before that, he was at Notre Dame. So he's already familiar with what Brian Kelly demands of his team and his players and all that. So I like that. And then last coordinator hired, this may be the best one yet, Shane, special teams coordinator Brian Polian. He was at Notre Dame. He's been a head coach before. He's in charge, I believe, also of the recruiting board and everything that goes with that. And, of course, he is the son of the great, Bill Polian up there, who constructed those Super Bowl champions up there in Indianapolis Colts. So,
yeah,
strong trio of coordinators we got in Baton Rouge.
I love it, man. I mean, well, we knew obviously there'd be a lot of turnover with this team with a new head coach, but you know that it's not names you haven't heard. It's not players and coaches that you're unfamiliar with. You know, Kelly went out there, got some. I mean, he went and got top shelf coordinators. You know, it's not like he was just scrambling to fill up positions. He went out and got exactly what he needed to make this thing work.
Yeah, and you know, similar to what Brian Kelly's been saying here this offseason, Shane, why did you leave Notre Dame to win a national championship? Didn't have confidence that could be accomplished at Notre Dame. It's a known fact that you could do that at LSU, and I think you could see that in his coordinators because, Matt House, I mean, he's got a Super Bowl ring. What more can he accomplish? He wants that national championship. Mike Denbrock at Cincinnati, hey, that cute story and all there, but they got to the playoff. What happened? They got ran out the damn building. You know, can't win it at Cincinnati. And then again, Brian Polian, who he's been a head coach. He was at Notre Dame. I mean, this is a championship coordinator trio, and it should serve LSU well right out the gate.
Well, and that's why there's so much expectations down there, because anybody that's everybody that knows what LSU is capable of doing with recruits in general. It's a place that needs to win now, and it's not something that we can just let marinate for 3 or 4 seasons. This is something that the expectations are on they're top shelf, like I told you earlier, and that's why we went out and got Kelly to begin with. We loved Coach O. Don't get me wrong, I love Coach O, and that was a rarity down there in LSU. That was just a coincidence, and look what happened. Stumbles into one of the greatest teams. Not saying stumble. I'm not going to discredit what he did down there, but again, that the talent alone on the roster is what got them to a national championship. So, yeah, the expectations are going to be high.
Now, let me ask you this, Shay, a little bigger picture. We've not yet kind of done an analysis like this, a bigger picture when we've done these previews, but you just made me think of something, because obviously we know Texas and Oklahoma, they're coming to the SEC.
Right.
Texas A&M is on the rise. Arkansas is on the rise. Hell, Alabama's they never seem like they will come off the rise. You know what I mean? So there's so many juggernauts out there in the West, and I'm not sitting here saying that LSU, the best is behind them, but I am saying, kind of like you're hitting at here, this is win now mode. And that's what the expectation in Baton Rouge. And if they do take 2 or 3 years to build this up, I think there's a concern that if Texas ever gets it right, if Oklahoma can keep on keeping on, if A&M keeps recruiting, if Nick Saban, he keeps taking those steroids or whatever he's taking that's keeping him young, I mean, LSU is going to be in a hole they can't dig themselves out of if they don't step up. And I think with the commitment they've made to Brian Kelly and these coaches and the NIL and everything they're doing there in Baton Rouge, they are putting forth the commitment to stay among the elite in college football, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. You know, it's funny you said Saban and steroids. I always think about – do you remember the TV show? I don't know if it's still out there, but what is it? It's about those nerds that work on the computers and stuff like that, and they're trying to make a new internet.
Silicon Valley?
TV. Yeah, Silicon Valley. You remember that one guy? He kept getting the blood transfusion so he had a guy that works out all the time, and then in the evening he would just transfer his blood to him. So that's what I think about with Saban, just getting his transfusions in the evenings. But no, this I don't even know what your question was. Talking about a high pressured program. It is a win now, but I don't think Texas and Oklahoma are the biggest worry here. I think the biggest worry is getting left behind. You can easily see with some of these programs, my beloved Volunteers, you go through a cycle of bad seasons. It's hard to crawl out, man. It's hard to want some of these recruits to come to your school, and you know what I'm saying. I mean, it's yeah. There's a couple of kids in Louisiana that want to play with you, but you know, having to being able to compete at the top level, you got to go into Texas, you got to go into California, you got to go into Florida and Alabama and Mississippi and Georgia and pick up these recruits, and they got to want to come to your program. They're not going to come to 7-5 programs. It's just not going to happen. That's why there's so much pressure, because you fall a couple seasons behind, it's tough to climb out of that recruiting hole.
And not that they're quite anywhere near to that level, Shane, but they do have a ton of production to replace this season in Baton Rouge. Now they've attacked the transfer portal. We'll get to the transfer portal here in a minute, but passing yards, Shane, only 10% of the passing from last season returns, and of course that's because Max Johnson now is a Texas A&M Aggie. So I mean, there's virtually no passing returning. Rushing yards, Shane, only 15% returning from last year. Josh Williams led the way with 108 yards. But now here's where whoever the quarterback is, Shane, they're going to be aided significantly by this receiving core that brings back 75% of their production, with Keyshawn Butte leading the way last year with 508 yards, and that was with missing half the season.
Right.
Now, maybe the biggest question mark, bigger than quarterbacks, in my opinion, offensive line, only returning 37% of the production, the starts from last season. So, man, we've got a lot of moving pieces here to fit together that, like you said, Florida State, Mississippi State in the first month, not a lot of time for this unit to gel on the offensive side. You know what?
Yeah, it ramps up real quick. And that's obviously our biggest concern with LSU, is just how quick do these kids start playing together. You know, you could throw a team out there, but sometimes it's not the best 11. Some kids play better in practice and than they do in the game. And, when the lights come on, do we have the best 11 out there? So part of that we're going to have to learn on the fly, because we have not that many starts returning. But I don't want to panic, because this is a very talented roster, and given the opportunity, I still think we're looking at one of the best teams in the West for sure.
Well, the defense should be a strength, Shane. 50% of the tackles return, 42% tackles for loss, 55% of the sacks, and 50% of the interceptions. So, not nearly as bad on the defensive side of the ball as the offense. But again, I got confidence in Matt House. They have retooled that defensive secondary via the transfer portal. They've loaded up in recruiting once again. And hell, they just always got good defense down there in Baton Rouge. You know what?
It's LSU. When I think of LSU, I think of defense and running back for some reason. So it's just planted in my brain. And the fact that that's what you have majority returning. Let me ask you, Mike, if you were coming back, you were a new coach, and they said, okay, you can keep the offense from last year, you can keep a defense from the year prior, which one would you go in with?
For LSU, you're talking?
Yeah, well, just in general, if you're just a new coach, would you rather have a little bit more seniority on your defensive side of the football, or would you rather have it on your offense?
I mean, I think 9 times out of 10, I'd say defense, but just the way the game is now, I think you almost have to go offense because it's, I mean, hell, the greatest dynasty of all time. We were talking about it on the last episode. Alabama, they're offensive juggernaut now. Georgia, as good as that defense was, maybe the best ever, they needed the offense to come alive. They needed Stetson Bennett. They needed Brock Bowers. They needed James Cook. You need the offense, not necessarily to lead the way, but it's just so difficult for defense to lead you to championships nowadays. Yeah. So I think I'd have to go offense.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, but I do love a little production on the defense. Like if I were, for instance, LSU situation here, having majority of your production come back on the defensive side of the football, I think that's a good thing because a lot of times that can help you stay in the game. Why some of these why this young talent starts, discovering their true identity.
And I should make one amendment, Shane. I said LSU's always got a good defense, with the exception of when Bo Pelini's running the defense down there. They ran his ass out of there pretty quick, did they?
That's right. Petting that cat right now.
So on to the transfer, Shane. This is, it's just been a wild ride here in the transfer portal for LSU following the coaching change. Of course, Max Johnson, we already hit on, off to Texas A&M. Eli Ricks, the outstanding corner, off to Alabama. Coy Moore, the receiver, off to Auburn. Dwight McLaughlin, the defensive back, to Arkansas. Landon Jackson, defensive lineman, to Arkansas. Josh White, the linebacker, to Baylor. Running back Corey Kiner to Cincinnati. And receiver Trey Palmer to Nebraska. So, and that don't even count Deion Smith, the other receiver. He has yet to find a home. But, man, just new faces all across the board at Baton Rouge.
Yeah, new faces, but I think one of the biggest transfers that you didn't mention was Butte. The fact that here's a kid we all thought was going somewhere else, and that he was able to pull back. So I think, this happens with all new teams, new regime, new coach. You got to get that locker room right, and there's going to be some of that turnover, especially with Coach O. As personal as he was, I expected it. Quite a bit from LSU just because he is a player's coach,
Right. Now, incoming transfers, though, they loaded up on these guys too, Shane. And, we got to really commend Brian Kelly. I think this is going to be a strategy new coaches use more and more often to revitalize their roster, get the depth up. But what Brian Kelly did, Shane, he looked around the landscape and said, okay, anybody from Louisiana, you probably grew up loving LSU, wanting to be a Tiger. Maybe the previous staff didn't offer you, or maybe they didn't recruit you hard enough. Well, they're gone. Now's your chance to come home, play in front of your family, play for the school you grew up loving. And that's the case for a lot of these kids they got in the transfer portal. With Jaden Daniels, the quarterback from Arizona State, he doesn't quite fit that mold. But, hell, he's a guy that we've not talked enough about that could be one of the breakout stars in the SEC. A pair of defensive backs from Arkansas, Greg Brooks and Joe Fouché. Defensive back, an outstanding Big 12, all Big 12 selection, Jurek Bernard Converse. He's going to be a lockdown corner, I think, for LSU. They got a pair of offensive linemen, Tremont Shorts from ETSU and Miles Frazier, who was a All-American, I believe, for Florida International. Makai Wingo, the defensive lineman from Missouri. Linebacker Kobe Fields from South Carolina. Noah Kane, the running back from Penn State. Selvin Banks, the defensive back from Ohio State. And Shane, your favorite, a punter, Jay Bramblett from Notre Dame, who he's going to come with the staff. So they got the punting game figured out already.
Seriously, out of all the Notre Dame players you could bring with you, you brought the punter. Ain't that something?
He must be one hell of a punter.
One hell of a punter. So, no, I like this, and I love the first thing you said is reaching out and letting some of these kids know, hey, you got another opportunity to come home. And I think that's important because, Louisiana is not a huge state. And a lot of these players that are playing right now, have brothers, have cousins, have teammates at, high school. And I think that's important because the next chapter of LSU, again, is protecting the borders. And I know a lot of people say that, but it's very important for Louisiana because it's the only college legit. I mean, there's other schools down there, but it is the Mecca. It is it's right up there with the Saints. You know, it is what these kids talk about growing up and they strive to play for. So protect those borders, because all other teams are coming down there to try to get your kids too, you know? So I think that's impressive, and I hope it really works out for them.
Now, kicking over to recruiting, Shane, they didn't bring in a ton of guys because, again, they were going after so many transfers, but man, did they get some potential stars here. They got a 5-star linebacker, the number 2 linebacker in the country, Harold Perkins. He should see the field right away as a freshman in some capacity. They signed the number 4 offensive tackle, Will Campbell, and apparently he's already locked up the left tackle position. You know, that's incredible that a true freshman can kind of come into a storied program like LSU, but that's how good he is. A 5-star quarterback, Walker Howard, who knows, maybe he's a wild card that we're not talking about at quarterback. And Emory Jones, not that Emory Jones, but a different one, the 5-star interior offensive lineman. So, we could be seeing a lot of young players here at LSU emerge because, I don't think they're going to be playing favorites with this new staff. They're just going to play the best players.
You know, it's funny. We did that show about the breakout candidates, and LSU was the toughest one for me to pick, because there's all these kids that got a lot of potential coming out of high school, highly touted on 24/7. And yeah, you could see at the end of the season, but I'm telling you, man, there's a handful of them that are going to pop about, week 3, week 4 in, and we're going to find out who the next LSU great's going to be.
Yeah, no doubt. Now let's rank the offensive position group, Shane, and I think LSU fans are going to love this one that I got it at the top, because we've got so many options. It's almost like we can't screw this up, Shane. I'm putting quarterback number 1. Yeah. And even though it's an unknown who's going to play, it's not because we got 4 terrible options. It's because we got 4 potentially great options here.
Right.
With Miles Brennan, the 19-year senior, Jaden Daniels, the Arizona State transfer, Garrett Nussmeier, who I think he's got major star potential, maybe your starting quarterback, right. if not right out the gate by the end of the year. And then the 5-star freshman Walker Howard. I mean, goodness, not many teams got 4 guys that good.
No, I mean, we just talked about Texas A&M with 3, and right. Here again, you got LSU with 4, and all 4 of these could find a home in just about any school outside the SEC. So I don't know. I think that old saying, the water makes all the boats rise, or whatever it is, I don't even know if maybe I just made that one up, but it's the same thing. If everybody's pushing each other in that quarterback room, they're all getting better. So I just hope they narrow it down the list. And the beautiful thing is I have full confidence that Kelly knows who he's going to be rolling out week 1.
Yeah, and the good thing for the quarterback, Shane, these receivers, I got them number 2. Very deep receiver room we got here. Keyshawn Butte, of course, maybe the best receiver in the country.
Right.
Jeray Jenkins, Jack Betch, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Chris Hilton. And then we got a transfer from Louisiana I didn't mention, Kyron Lacey, who he was a standout for Billy Napier there in Louisiana. And Cole Taylor. I mean, hell, we go 8 deep here at receiver.
Brother, a lot of people forget how good Butte was, since he literally was the offense. There was times they were just airing it up, it didn't matter. 4 or 5 defenders, Butte's coming down with the ball. So I think this receiver group is going to be giving everybody a run for their money, and it all starts with Butte. So if he comes back and he's got his mind right, I tell you what, that is a dangerous room.
Yeah, and just imagine, maybe I don't want to say the starting quarterback's not going to have confidence coming out, but whoever that is, if they're not completely feeling it, what a security blanket to have a guy out here that is probably going to be the best player on the field every time, regardless of who they're facing.
That's right. I'm telling you, they go play at the Saints building. They may just keep them down there. Let them play on Sunday. So no, they've got some serious talent down there.
Now on the offensive line, again, it is a big question mark, but we've got some talent, and it's pretty deep here. Shane, Will Campbell, the freshman, Miles Frazier and Tremont Shorts, the 2 transfers. We got Cam Wire. We got Garrett Dillinger, Marcus Dumerville, Marlon Martinez, Charles Turner, Anthony Bradford. So Hey, we got a nice combo here. In many of these guys were 4 and 5-star recruits
Right.
that just have not kind of broken out just yet. We got to see if this unit can gel together in time for the season. Because, again, I mean, it ain't going to be easy. But this is kind of the biggest question mark I got for LSU, even though we do got a deep and talented unit here.
That's the key, I think, is just competitive depth. I think that's going to be key here. It reminds me a lot of South Carolina defensive front. You know, they've got the names, they got the star power. It's just, what does it look like together, and how does it develop? You know, this offseason, how do we progress going into 2022? So, not a lot of return starts clearly, but this is a group that I've got I don't know if I want to say number 3, but easily could be a number 1 unit at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about these running backs, Shay? Not a deep group, but a group loaded with talent. We've been waiting for old John Emery since we've seen his clip. Seems like that was 2019 or something. But John Emery's going to lead the way. He's back this year. Trey Bradford, Armani Goodwin, and then the Penn State transfer Noah Kane. So we may go 4 deep here at running back at LSU.
I mean, if not now, then when, right? I mean, Emery, I'm trying not to get sucked into this hype train again, you know, but the kid's got it. The kid, he is uber talented. It's a sneaky good group there. I just think this is the year he finally pops, man. And we're like, oh yeah, that's the guy we saw 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Now we got to see what we got in the tight ends. We got Cole Taylor, Jack Mashburn, but in Brian Kelly's system, they utilize the tight end. So I don't quite know what we're getting out of this group. That's kind of why I had him last, to see kind of how they fit, because I don't think in the previous offense we really used them. So this may be, kind of, I can't even rate this group till we see him with this coaching staff, really.
Yeah, I know, man.
But, hey, we may have questions about the tight end, Shane, but we got no questions about the defensive line. So this may be the strongest group on the entire LSU roster, and that's saying something, because we got B.J. Ojulari, Mason Smith, Ali Gay, Jacqueline Roy, Jacobian Guillory, and the Missouri transfer Makai Wingo. Similar to what we hit on the last episode with A&M. They're just going to be rotating these guys in, because they're going to be beast mode down there. You know what?
Big, bad, and scary, man. That is an SEC starting lineup right there. These boys they're going to just pin their ears back, and when I think of LSU, some of the best players to come out of LSU, I think of that defensive front, and this is on par.
And I think Mason Smith is the one you got to keep your eye on, because by the end of the season, we may be wondering how is he not a preseason All-American type guy. I love any lineman that wears number 0. I don't know about you, Shane.
Yeah, no, that wasn't even an option when I was growing up, but I would have wore it.
Now, the linebackers, nothing to sneeze at here. Micah Bakersfield, Shane, again, the leading returning tackler. Mike Jones, Greg Penn, Harold Perkins, the 5-star freshman, and Kobe Fields, the South Carolina transfer. So a nice, deep unit here. And again, I think we're only going to utilize 2 on the field at a time. So not the deepest unit, but doesn't necessarily have to be in Matt House's defense.
No, it doesn't. Hard-hitting analysis there.
No, but
it doesn't. If you ever looked at his defenses, it doesn't really matter there. It all starts up front.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he came in with a loaded deck too.
Now the defensive backs. I mean, this is a very, very talented and deep group. But basically half of them are all new faces here. We do got Jay Ward and Major Burns back, but Jerick Bernard Converse, the Oklahoma State transfer, the 2 Arkansas transfers, Greg Brooks, Joe Fouché, Makai Garner from the Louisiana transfer, the Ohio State transfer, Sylvan Banks. How are all these pieces going to come together? I do not know, Shay, but I can't rightly put them much higher, because who knows? It may take them half the season to have a rapport back there. You know what?
Yeah, and this one, I'm trying to be positive, Mike, but this is the one I'm scared about the most as far as that side of the ball. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know what it's going to look like. again, it seems like the same old song, man. There's talent, but you can't just roll athletes out there. They've got to work together. They got to feel each other, understand each other, and that's something you get with reps, and that's just something these guys have never shared together.
Yeah, with a new coaching staff, new system, new place. I mean, it's a major, major question mark in my opinion. And same thing with kicker, Shane, because we got an ECU transfer, Slade Roy, and then we got a true freshman, Nathan Dilbert. So I got no idea.
Kelly couldn't grab the kicker. I mean, he got the punter. Couldn't get the kicker on the way down.
So, I mean, I think you're sensing a theme here, Shane. Just so many things about LSU I do not know much about. You know what I mean? So that's why this fall camp is going to be so important for LSU to make sure that they cross all their T's and dot their I's heading into an opening game that you can't overlook from Florida State.
You can't, and you got to prepare for week one, and sometimes that helps, Mike. I really do think that when you've got an opponent, a high caliber, everybody knows Florida State. This, like you said, this isn't Sam Houston University coming in. This is a program that you want to go out there and you want to make a name for yourself. This is a new chapter for them Tigers. Brian wants to get a victory here, so I think one goal, one theme, just get it rolling, and just try to find the best 11 out there, but I guarantee you the first 11 we see on this field with Florida State will not be the one we see the following week, because they're just, again, there's going to be so many moving pieces and people play different than they practice.
Right. So, hey, let's just dive into it, Shane. Your favorite part, the schedule breakdown. We've been sitting here teasing the Florida State game. Sunday. It's a Sunday one. It's Labor Day weekend. We got seems like 6 days in a row of college football. Nothing better. Sunday, September 4th, Florida State comes to New Orleans. It's going to be a home field advantage for them LSU Tigers. Who do you like in the matchup? Florida State, LSU.
Sunday, Saturday. It could be Thursday in Bobby Bowden's backyard. There's no way Florida State wins this thing. Peter Warwick could be dressed out. They're going to have a victory here, Mike. The LSU Tigers 1-0, and this is going to be such a big victory for them. Put them back on the spot, man. Just remind everybody that what a powerhouse LSU can be.
Yeah, and it's going to be nationally televised, ABC. So, I mean, the spotlight is going to be out. There's going to be a lot of people with their eyes on this game. Just going to be an incredible showcase game for LSU, even though it's
absolutely.
The only thing I wish, I mean, we kind of probably complain too much. We'll take college football how we can get it. How much better would this be if it was in Death Valley? You know what?
I know. I know. It's in New Orleans, and I get that. It's still going to be a home field game, but you're right, man. At night, Florida State, I mean, they missed the boat here, missed an opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you who else is going to miss the boat here. Week 2, Southern, no idea where they're even located. I think they're an in-state team, but them Jaguars, Shay, not the Jacksonville Jaguars, but the Southern Jaguars coming to Tiger Stadium.
I thought you were like leaning at Southern what? Southern Michigan? Southern what? We don't even know what state they're in?
No,
what's their – they're just Southern?
They're Southern Southern Jaguars.
Jaguars, huh. Well, no, I mean, imagine the slang Kelly's going to have during that Southern matchup, you know? No, they're 2-0, man. I don't care. If you don't even know, I couldn't – right now, can we Google this? Because I want to figure out where is Southern. I want to say, if you're just guessing, not looking, where are you saying? I'm saying Texas.
Yeah, well, hey, that'd be a good bet. I was thinking Louisiana. I think it is Louisiana, Shane, because it's weird. They play before this game. They play Florida Memorial.
Yeah,
never heard of that, but they play them in Baton Rouge. So this is just like the local high school team. Half their games are in Baton Rouge.
Southern University. Here they are. Let's see. They don't even want to tell you on Wikipedia. That's how bad it is. Let's see. Where is that thing at? SWAC. They're in the SWAC. Human Jukebox is their marching band. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's in Baton Rouge. Southern University.
Okay.
So they're just crossing the street to come over here and take a whooping in Tiger Stadium.
Well, let them do it, man. Let them do it, my friend. As long as they're having fun, that's all that matters. Hey, what's important though with this one is the fact that it is a tune-up game. I like the timing of it.
Right. You
play Florida State, you get your best roster out there, the best you can. We're gonna find faults. We're gonna make mistakes. I think we can have those mistakes and still beat the Seminoles. But week 2, this is an opportunity to get that right. So I love the game placement here. Given Southern, maybe they've got a couple local fans, local schools there and stuff, and they can make a local event of this. So no, I like it, man. I just think that it's just perfect game timing.
Yeah.
LSU 2-0.
Now this game could be tricky. Mississippi State. The good news, Shane, it's in Baton Rouge. I think this LSU team could be in real danger. I mean, could be in danger regardless, but if this game was in Starkville with them cowbells, it would be a nightmare for a Brian Kelly team still trying to find its footing. So thankfully you're getting Mississippi State at home this season.
Yeah, and I think that's important. Again, this is optimistic, Mike. We're being optimistic with LSU here, and I'm optimistic that by 2 games in, they're going to start discovering a little bit of their identity and not overlooking Mississippi State. This is going to be a hell of a game. This is a coin toss game in my opinion. So with any coin toss game, I'm going to give the nod to the optimistic program, and that's the LSU Tigers 3-0.
Now, New Mexico's Lobos, Shane.
The Lobos, yeah. Is, what's his name still down there? Quarterbacking?
Terry Wilson?
Yeah. Yeah, is he still getting sacked down there?
He may be for all I know.
Terry football. I love it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry, go ahead.
He was 18-3 as Kentucky starter. That's something I heard time and time again. At least going into his final season when he lost. I think he lost half his games that year.
Yeah, this is the Big Ten's newest program, the New Mexico State Lobos, and LSU's got an easy victory here. This again, I like the up and downs. Get a tough opponent with Florida State, tune-up game with Southern, then you go with Mississippi State, tune-up game with New Mexico. I think we're 4-0 right here, brother.
Now, how about this super tricky one, Shane? I do not think it can be overlooked at Auburn. Auburn came into Baton Rouge last season and beat the Tigers first time in 20-some-odd years. Of course, they needed Bo Nix to act like Superman to do it, and he's off to Oregon. So it could be a different story on the plains, but this is typically one of the best games, early season games in the SEC West every year.
Absolutely, but you're 5 games in. You know what I'm saying? It's like the newness is wore off. LSU is not a new team anymore. They're moving right now, and I think if this game were played week 1, we could probably say, yeah, Auburn's going to easily upset them. But just because, I don't know if you say easily, but I just think it's going to be a tough fought ball game. But this far in, no, I'm still going to lean a little more toward LSU here.
Let me ask you this, Shane, because we're being optimistic LSU.
Yeah.
Is Brian Harsin still the head coach by October 1 here?
Oh, God. Well, why do you do that? You always bring in negativity. Here I am. I'm trying to be positive. I turned over a new leaf, and you want to bring in that. I love that dark shit. I want to get in there. I want to waller in. I want to talk about the hot seat. I already got him fired at the Mizzou game. You know what I'm saying? And now here you want me to do this one. So, no, I don't think you lose your job losing to LSU.
Right.
I think that's you lose your job. There's certain. Yeah, I'm not going to get into it, but there's a handful of SEC programs you're not supposed to lose to.
Right.
And LSU's not one of those. So even if they lose that one, I don't think he gets fired unless it's been a rough spot all the way through and it was like just an ass whooping or something like that. But here we're talking about Auburn again. I'm telling you, Mike, you're messing with me here. All right.
Well, I get you back on track with this one, Shane. Let's see if you can keep that positivity coming because them Vols, Shane, coming to Baton Rouge Saturday, October 8th. You've got LSU at this point, optimistically 5-0. You've probably got Tennessee 5-0 too, if I know you. So the battle of unbeatens here in Tiger Stadium, Tennessee at LSU. thoughts on this one?
See, this is what you do, Mike. You tee me up, brother. You tee me up. You southerned me. You got Southern. We're talking about Southern, and then bam, Mississippi State comes in. So Mike. I don't know about this one. I want to be optimistic for LSU, but I don't think this is quite a coin toss game. I still think this, and it's down there, correct?
It's in Baton Rouge, yeah.
Okay, so maybe we'll give them the nod on this one, even though it hurts my soul. I think just because
that secondary, they could have some real issues with this Tennessee offense.
They could. That's the thing. But the defensive front can cause chaos for the Tennessee Vols, and if they can do that, because I saw a little bit of it. We saw a little bit of it last year going against some of these different teams when they were able to get pressure on Hooker and get him outside the pocket. He can do some electrifying things with his legs, but he can also get banged up, and that's not what you want to see, and that's something that I'm sure Kelly's going to want to lean in on. So, just being optimistic here. I don't think it's quite a coin toss, but I think if the stars are lined, I think there's no reason that LSU shouldn't be able to compete with the Tennessee Volunteers, but they're going to have to play a hell of a game, man, especially that secondary.
So who you picking?
Oh, did I not say? Oh. LSU. I'll give LSU. Optimistically, I'll give them the nod here.
All right, how about the next game, Shane? At Florida, tricky game. This is one of the best annual showdowns in the conference. LSU at Florida.
This is one of my favorite games, Mike. I mean, absolute favorite games. It doesn't matter who's coaching this thing. It doesn't matter when it's played. It comes down to just moments, seconds, a third down in a random second quarter that you're not paying attention to. It was the last opportunity you had to seal the deal. So I don't know. This is such a fun game to watch, and it usually comes down to a final possession. And so how can I not just assume optimistically LSU has the ball in the last drive? So give me LSU undefeated at this moment.
Man, and then they come home for Ole Miss, one of the underrated rivalries here in the SEC. Ole Miss at LSU. Who do you favor in this one?
Well, everybody's high on Ole Miss but Shane. So it's nothing against Ole Miss. We'll go down that path here before too long. But pure talent, it's top to bottom. LSU has better talent. It's just Ole Miss may have more starts. Ole Miss, I love what Lane Kiffin has done, and he puts his boys in the best possible position. But optimistically, I think LSU, if given the opportunity, can lean on those 4- and 5-star recruits that they've got on top to bottom of that team and come away with a victory here. So LSU still undefeated, buddy.
Heading into November, Shane's got LSU as a college football playoff team.
No. Reality's about to set in here short. But, yes, I think we're all happy. There's a couple of games, and we'll get to, but the Mississippi State, the Tennessee, those couple of those games, they got me a little worried. I ain't going to lie. Right. I'm not worried about Ole Miss.
So you got 2 weeks to prepare for it. You teased it right there. Alabama comes to town.
Right.
On the bright side, you get them in Baton Rouge. But, hell, last time you hosted them, you lost by like 50 points to of course, that was a hell of an Alabama team. But Alabama at LSU, who do you like in that one?
Mike, LSU can beat Alabama, just not this year, okay? It's going to happen at some point, and maybe why Kelly's down there, but they've got a long ways to go before they're competing with the Crimson Tide. So LSU gets their first loss here.
Yeah, and I love the fact, Shane, that Brian Kelly came down here and he said, "Hell, I came down here to whip Nick Saban." That's what you want to hear as an LSU fan. That
absolutely,
you ain't
man.
running from Nick Saban. You ain't running from that challenge.
Absolutely.
The monster that you got to climb over to make Atlanta, to make it to the college football playoff. And, hey, you're going to get to play him every year. You know what?
And if you play your cards right, you're competing sooner than later, especially with a team like LSU. This isn't a rebuild, man. They've got talent. It's just getting it to play in unison and then backing up that talent with competitive depth. This is something, I mean, it's a little bit of a build, but it's not that far behind Alabama. Just a couple of good recruiting classes. You're right there in it.
Now, next, Shane, they go on the road to Arkansas. Arkansas got you last year in Baton Rouge. I mean, this is the game for the Golden Boot down here. Who do you like, LSU or Arkansas in Fayetteville?
Yeah, sneaky good rivalry here. But problem I have, brother, is I have too much faith in Arkansas offense and defense. I think LSU, again, they're building something. They lost a little bit of that momentum last week when they lost to Alabama, and I don't think I think we got a little bit of I don't know, maybe a little bit of a hangover here when they play Arkansas. Jefferson gets I mean, it's a tough program. That's a terrible placement if you're looking at, and I know they picked this thing years out and whatever, but it's going from Bama to Arkansas. That's tough. That's tough for any team. So yeah, 2 losses in a row here.
Well, LSU should bounce back the following week, though, Shane. They host UAB in Baton Rouge. That's an easy win, right?
Absolutely. There's one Alabama team we can win, you know. So yeah, give me old Birmingham with and this is a good get right game.
Yeah,
you win against 2 top 10, top 15 programs. I think we're back in good shape here.
Now the finale, man, LSU may have the toughest close to the season of anybody out there at Texas A&M, who heck, we just covered them, said optimistically they could be undefeated. So who do you like in this matchup? LSU at Texas A&M.
I think it'll be a tough fought ball game, but just too deep. Texas A&M. I mean, listen to that podcast. There's a reason we're high on these guys. I don't think that LSU's that far behind, but competing with them for a full 4th quarters, that's tough, especially this late in the season. So give me LSU losing the game, Texas A&M winning the game there at the end.
Now, I know, Shane, the standard in Baton Rouge is sky high. 9-3 is not going to please most fans, but
yeah,
I think in year 1 under Brian Kelly with all the turnovers, I think they would excuse that. You know what I mean? Or at least be able to say, hey, we underperformed to our expectation, but maybe year 2 we get to that 10-11 win mark. I think 9-3 is not cause for concern for the Tigers.
No, and if you were to pick, let's roll Arkansas out. If you were to pick the Texas A&M or the Alabama, is there any of those 2 teams that you could see stars aligned, you know, perfect opportunity for Kelly and company to get a victory? Is there any, like, if you were leaning one way or the others, which one of those teams would you choose?
You're asking Alabama or A&M?
Yeah, because I think, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I just think A&M, Alabama, kind of in their own little deal. I think Arkansas is right there at the door. So more like a 1A, 1B, and then a 2. But if you were to pick A&M and Bama, which one of those teams can Kelly beat this year?
I'd say more likely A&M, even though it is on the road. But LSU's had a ton of success over the Aggies, including last year when they had no business beating A&M. Now it took a fantastic close, but they did get that done. So I think they're in the heads a little bit of Texas A&M Aggies, and particularly, you know, we got high hopes for A&M. I'm not sitting here saying they're not going to live up to the hype, but hell, it wouldn't stun me if they didn't live up to the hype. Whereas, you know, it would pretty much stun me if Alabama is not that great of a team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm telling you, they play Alabama differently. You know, they did last year. That was a team that you didn't think had a shot in hell, and there we are looking at the 4th quarter like, wait a minute, do we have a game here? You know.
Now you went optimistically 9-3.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Shea Debbie Downer over here.
Here we go.
I'm probably going to have to go 8-4 because we look at that stretch. I don't want to say you overlooked it, but you know, at Auburn, Tennessee, at Florida, Ole Miss. I think there's an excellent chance LSU drops one of those games. And I don't think that's stunning.
Well, let's rank them. Out of those 4, which one is it?
I think at Florida's number 1.
Okay.
Tennessee number 2. Ole Miss 3, and then at Auburn 4, which is crazy because hell, Auburn beat them last year, and that's always a great game. So, I don't think that would be a huge upset if Auburn beats LSU at home.
Okay. All right. I don't know why you hate Auburn, but all right. Well, go on. I mean, you live your life, Mike. We lost Auburn fans a long time ago. We're on LSU here, so.
But hey, this has been a tremendous week of previewing all these matchups. Which we are literally a week away, Shane, from heading down to Atlanta for SEC Media Days. I cannot wait. Got anything else before we close out for the week?
Yeah, Mike just informed me I'm not allowed to drink beer there on during the meeting, so I don't know how this is going to play out. No, I'm just kidding. I'm pumped up about that. I'm pumped. That's why I like this. I love these individual previews of each games and teams. Optimism is everybody's optimistic right now. I know I am. I think my Tennessee Vols are going to be great this year,
Right.
There may be a couple of games that come in and bring me back to reality, but until I see that game, I'm on cloud 9. So that's what we wanted to bring to you guys is just best possible outcome. And I thought 9-3. I think that's very realistic. Before we go too far, Mike, I do want to ask you real quick. If you were to pick a best offensive player, MVP at the end of the season, who's it going to be?
Got to be Keyshawn Butte.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. What about defense?
Defense, I teased it there. I love Mason Smith. I think he takes that next step, and he may be one of the best defensive linemen in the country.
And is it possible for Butte to win a Heisman?
Why not? We've seen, the guy up there at Alabama, Devonta Smith, who I know he returned kicks a little bit there, but I think we've reached the point now where we'll reward an outstanding, excellent receiver. So why not throw Keyshawn Butte into that mix?
Oh yeah, he's got the Heisman name too. So
exactly. Well, hey Shane, next week be on the lookout for some special shows. One in particular coming right out the next week as our march to SEC Media Days continues. But that is going to do it for an outstanding week of shows. I do appreciate each and every one of you for continuing to check us out during the offseason. The offseason will be over before you know it. And I can't thank you enough, Shane, for hopping on the line, talking all this SEC football. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Tigers.
Yeah.